the landscape has changed over the past several years in influencer. When I first started my career, it was very much about that top of funnel, big influencers who will get a lot of views
Yes.
and get a lot of attention, and it was very expensive. And now it's grown into this like real growth channel for brands, where, just 5 years ago, I was still talking to brands about what is influencer marketing? Do you have a TikTok? And now everyone has someone on their team that has some sort of influencer budget or is being tasked with working with creators, whether it's getting UGC to fill their paid
Yes.
pipeline. So yeah, I just thought that that example was really interesting, and beauty in particular is a focus of mine right now. And actually, starting out in the influencer space, most of my very first clients were beauty brands because I feel like they're kind of the OGs of the influencer space. Beauty and fashion really built this.
Hmm.
What we now call influencer space. And so, having worked with many beauty brands over the past 10 years, that really stood out to me as a perfect example of how a brand is now utilizing community to build the marketing demand for their product first versus going out into paid channels and trying to build brand awareness after they have the product. One of the first beauty brands that I worked with in the influencer space did a fantastic job at this, and it was Glossier.
Yes.
That was built from coming from the Into the Gloss blog community that Emily Weiss had built out. And back then, there wasn't even this influencer type of status, right? It just was sort of this if you know type of brand,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
was totally community built before they ever even opened up a retail store. I think a lot of what Glossier did became almost like a standard for a lot of the DTC beauty brands during the pandemic. Summer Fridays is another great example of someone who just built a lot of community through social and created a cult brand.
There's a couple things. Like one, I think very easily people can look at that example and be like, "Well, we don't have a Haley Bieber. How do we do that?" And it's like, well, I could point you to Poppy. I could point you to a lot of different examples. I don't think it matters exactly when and where and how you get to that point. I think what you were elucidating, which I thought was really interesting, is like this is like you can duplicate this, you can repeat this, not always one to one, but you can clearly see the even if you're not taking the signal of how you actually use your own phone and interact with things, if you can just purely look at that data, because like that 11% number, correct me if I'm wrong, like anything under 20%, you're just sitting there going, this is amazing, we're killing
Yeah,
it, you know.
exactly.
So it's like,
Exactly.
so that number tells you it's like, great, you could actually take some risks in that space. And but I think the other really important point that you're making is, it was great if you got in the space like 10 years ago where nobody cost a lot. It was great, just have at it, right? Creators are undervalued. That 1% of creators can create like a budget issue, because and again, it's a little bit like we don't have necessarily like it's not like it's all set pricing based on discount or discount. But I mean, I was talking to Edelman about their trust barometer, and one of the things they kept bringing up is like there's this other thing that's kind of interesting where people now look at that like upper echelon of creators and go, ah, you're kind of mainstream, I might find more trust in this person or this person. And so when you're talking about building community, right, that's super repeatable. Like you can, if you can find creators who talk to creators who talk to other creators and build that community, you can absolutely turn that into a pretty repeatable model, in my opinion.